Okay, wow. The Grand Seiko Genbi Valley, reference number SLGH021, was debuted earlier this year at Watches and Wonders in Switzerland, and immediately it stood out to me as one of my favorite releases from the brand in 2024. I'll admit, it's a bit derivative of their white birch models in terms of utilizing the same Evolution 9 case, markers, as well as the High-Beat 9S-A5 automatic movement, but I will say, as a long-term owner of the white birch, I appreciate the iterative change that Grand Seiko went with for this current release. This SLGH021 offers a spectacular light green dial color and texture that is inspired by the Genbi Valley in Japan, which is a river region close to their manufacturing facility. This timepiece is also forged in Grand Seiko's ever-brilliant steel, a metal that offers extremely high corrosion resistance and luster when compared to the industry standard 316L surgical stainless steel. There has already been some early press release and media coverage surrounding this watch, but I don't think they were using production models just yet. This watch retails for about 14,000 Canadian dollars and sadly is limited to 1,000 pieces worldwide. But because I have an excellent relationship with my authorized dealer that happens to carry Grand Seiko, I was able to pick up one of the first allocations of this SLGH021 in Canada, which is the watch we're getting hands on for this video. Now I will provide a link to Banderi, which is my AD, in the description of this video in case you want to check them out sometimes. They have some amazing customer service and a very large selection of Grand Seiko watches. If you're familiar with the white birch, then the dimensions and wearing experience are going to be virtually identical. This watch comes in with a case diameter of 40.3 millimeters, a lug-to-lug distance of 46.6 millimeters, and a case height of 11.7 millimeters from the bottom of a screwed down and exhibition-style caseback and then to the top of a boxed sapphire crystal. The lug width is an even 22 millimeters, and the case has drilled lug holes for easy bracelet and strap changes. Now this bracelet is the same 3-link design that is used in other Evolution 9 models from the brand, and this tapers slightly down to 20 millimeters when you hit the Grand Seiko signed clasp. As this is a limited edition model, the GS logo on the clasp is actually done in gold instead of steel. Now, unfortunately, you still don't have any micro adjustment on the clasp, but there are half links on the bracelet, and I was able to get a good fit for my 7.5-inch wrist. This watch does wear extremely comfortable on the wrist, and weighs in about 150 grams when the bracelet is sized to fit my wrist circumference. Though I think my preference will be to wear this watch on a strap, the same way I wore my white birch, because it's lighter and it helps accentuate the curves and fine Zaratsu finishing of the Grand Seiko case. Now the highlight of this watch, as is the case for many Grand Seiko models, is the dial. The dial texture on this piece is very distinctive and mimics tiny shards of stained glass that make up a mosaic shoreline pattern. With different angles and light conditions, it can take on a light, almost turquoise blue color, but can then shift towards a darker emerald green hue at different times. I'll try and do the dial justice with some macro video, but it's really something that can be appreciated more when seen in person. A subtle touch is that they attempted to match the color of a chapter ring to the same dynamic color of a dial, and I actually think they were quite successful in this attempt. Now the applied GS logo below the 12 o'clock index is done in gold tone, since this is a limited model, and you also have Grand Seiko printed out in black just below that. For other printed text on the dial, you'll find the High-Beat 36,000 beat frequency, as well as the movement's 80-hour power reserve designation in black text just above a 6 o'clock position, and the applied hour markers, date, and handset are going to be the same that you would find on several birch models, which actually does really work well for me. They are expertly crafted and multifaceted indices and hands that really do grab and reflect the light, making this watch very legible at a glance. I just wish that they had applied some green lume to these markers and hands to add an additional sporty element to the watch. That's not to say that this watch couldn't pass as a sports piece, as it is 100 meters water resistant with a screw down crown, and of course if you get into some harsh waters, the ever brilliant steel should keep the case and bracelet free from any rusting. Now as for the claim that this ever brilliant alloy is brighter than normal steel that's utilized by other Grand Seiko models, I wouldn't say that it's significantly noticeable. I was actually a bit hard-pressed to see a difference in the hue or brightness of this steel when you compare it to the white birch. But I was also in a well-lit boutique at the time, and perhaps the difference in metal luster between these two watches would be more obvious with poor lighting conditions. Now I do hope to do more of a long-term owner's review of this watch so I can report back to you on any subtle characteristics that come from this metal or other things that I find with this watch. However, overall, my initial impressions for this Grand Seiko Genbi Valley have been very good. It's got a very unique dial texture and color compared to other pieces in their Evolution 9 collection. In my hands, the 9S-A5 Hive Beat automatic movement has also been very reliable and accurate, and it's also nice to see Grand Seiko expanding on the types of materials that they're using in this line of watches. I would say that if you already own a white birch, then there's likely enough redundancy in its design that you shouldn't have to feel you need to rush out and purchase the SLGH021. Sadly though, I did have to actually part ways with my personal white birch in order to obtain this current model. I really do wish that it wasn't limited to only 1,000 pieces as well, because people really need to get this watch in their hands to experience the art and mastery that Grand Seiko can put forward when designing dials for limited edition models. But as always, I'd love to know your own thoughts on this latest release from Grand Seiko, so be sure to provide your feedback in the comments section of this video. And while you're there, please consider subscribing and liking this content on my YouTube channel. It really does help me out. I appreciate you watching this video until the very end, and I can't wait to catch you guys in the next video.